Good morning, everybody. It is fall, and today's going to be one of the coolest days of the year so far. We'll see what we can get into. There's belly scales under it already. Yeah, just one. Coachwhip. Yeah, I think so. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, that's amazing. That is a beautiful little Coachwhip as our first snake. That is kind of exactly what we were hoping to flip this morning, given how cool and wet it is. It's a little wet for stuff to be out on the road, so our little morning flipping detour has paid off. One of the best things about Coachwhips is they are incredibly cooperative for photos and video. And look at this. He's just sitting there letting Richard get right up in his face to take pictures. Well, that is a great way to start the day. It's been a minute since we've seen a Coachwhip, and the adults tend to get a little bit more uncommon as we move later and later into fall. I think September is a good month for them, but then we get into October. It seems like we mostly see babies, which are not as fun. They're still cool, but I mean, that is one of my favorite snakes to find, even here in central Georgia where they're really common. Just never going to complain about seeing one of these guys, so we'll put him back under the tin. Maybe we'll find another one. All right, bud, here you go. Once he realizes where he's at and that we're letting him go, he's going to come to life here and slurp back under. Well, our day has, well, it hasn't really been much of anything since the Coachwhip, to be honest. We did some road cruising, saw nothing. It got really hot. Then it got really nice and cloudy, so we went to look for coral snakes, and here we are a couple hours later sitting in the rain. But we're going to try to flip some 10 to end the day since flipping worked this morning, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of luck doing that and can get at least one or two more snakes out of the day. But we're going to wait for this to stop and then get back to it. All right, it's still raining, but we're going to try to flip some stuff. There's a skink. There's a shed. It's a king shed. This one has not produced anything yet. King! Nice! Oh my God, look at that! Well, that is ridiculous. The amount of trouble we've been through today to find this snake is kind of absurd. But there you have it, Eastern King. So believe it or not, this is actually a recapture of one of the nicest king snakes I've ever found. And she's in shed and bleeding out of her butthole and pooping everywhere, so. All right, there we go. My camera was fogging up a little bit, but like I said, one of the most beautiful king snakes I've ever found, but you wouldn't know it by how it looks right now because it's so deep in shed. It's not even really, it looks like it's actually about to come out of shed, but it's just not what you want to see. However, I will attach a video, or I'll overlay a video of this snake freshly shed the first time we found it, which was I think 2 years ago at this point. I'm assuming she laid eggs this year. She's a little bit thin and will probably be shedding here soon and then heading out to look for food for the next couple weeks before winter. So very nice to see. Very nice to actually see two quality snakes today, even if we didn't see anything else. And we still have a little bit more tin to flip, so we'll see if there's anything else waiting for us. Go on. There you go. Yep, I am trying to release you. Go back. There she goes. All right. Stay safe out there. Hopefully we'll see you again one day. She's grown a little bit since we last found her. Still a very small king. Good morning, everybody. We are doing the rainy day thing again today. Was gonna try to road cruise, but it's raining on us already, so I think we're gonna hike and mostly flip 10, so let's get to it. This is a pretty cool situation here. We've got a double gopher tortoise burrow, and each one of those holes has a tortoise in it. That's really weird and cool. You don't see that too often, or at least I don't. How do we do this that way? This way? Yeah. All right. Maybe one day I'll see a snake under this thing. So we stopped at this creek and I walked down here to see what was happening and take a pee because we've been cruising for hours, and I spotted that guy. I'm not sure if that's a common or alligator snapper yet. We're gonna have to get a closer look. They look pretty similar when they're babies. Definitely looks like a common snapper once we get a better look at him, but still very cool. Very tiny little hatchling dude. Look at that. Well, if we're not going to find any snakes today, I guess a little baby common snapper is a pretty good consolation prize. We're still going to try to hit 1 or 2 more 10 spots, but we flipped quite a bit of stuff today with nothing to show for it besides this guy, who I incidentally found on a pee break. All right, we'll return this little cutie to the creek. I was hoping I'd see a couple more down there, but I never did find any. Just this one. I don't know if he wandered over here from a nest that was nearby or if there are more and I just didn't see him or what. The water is pretty murky from the rain though, so it's entirely possible I just can't see him. All right, little buddy, here you go. See if he's gonna do anything in the water. Nope, just gonna sit there. Well, yesterday was a little bit slow. The only thing of any interest we saw was that little snapping turtle and a DOR timber, but I don't show DORs on the channel because they're kind of gross. Anyways, we're out here the next day getting ready to go check up on our timber rattlesnake babies, and hopefully this time they will actually be out. We're doing the one thing that I haven't tried yet, and that is going in the middle of the heat of the day. They seem super shy in the morning. I've not been able to catch them out at all since they were born, and I'm hoping that's going to change today, so we'll see. They don't hang out in the same spot forever, so we definitely have a clock that is ticking before they disperse into the environment. And once that happens, they become a lot harder to find, at least not crossing roads. I'm sure we'll see plenty of babies crossing roads this fall, but I enjoy seeing them in habitat quite a bit more, so hopefully we'll be able to see some piles today. So, for some reason, there's a pickerel frog basking up on top of this fallen tree. That's one of the weirdest things I've seen in a long time. We don't see those guys very often, so it's extra weird to just see one sitting in the forest like a rattlesnake. That is so weird. But pickerel frogs are weird frogs. We see them in very weird places all the time, and they aren't ever predictable. So just finding, oh, I spooked him a little bit. We'll leave him right there. I don't want him to leave his perch. Looks very comfortable. Well, we are at the site of the first rattlesnakes that we saw inside the log, and those snakes had shed last time we saw them, so I kind of thought that maybe they would be gone by now. I was hoping that we'd be able to find them nearby, but no sign of mom or babies yet. We're gonna canvass this area though and see if we can find them, because if they're around, I would imagine they're probably out basking. So Richard was here Monday and today is Sunday. So at some point over the last week, these snakes have pretty much completely left. We never did really see them outside the log basking at all, which is strange to me. And maybe it was just bad timing being here on the wrong days, but these snakes appear to have moved off on their own, and I'm sure mom is somewhere coiled nearby looking for a meal so that she can make it through the winter. Having babies takes a lot out of snakes, so whenever they are free to, it's important that they get food before winter, and the same goes for the babies. They have to find their first meal on their own before winter if they want to have a good chance at surviving. So there's a very good chance that these snakes are all surprisingly far from here at this point. So we're gonna walk around, see what we can see, and maybe check up on those other females who will hopefully still be with their babies because they were a little bit further behind. At the second site we planned to check on, we only saw this pile of sheds. 2 of the 3 mother rattlesnakes and their babies had already dispersed. We moved on to check on our final mother, and we're ecstatic to find ourselves once again surrounded by rattlesnakes. And much like last year, several of them were up in the trees well above our heads. If you haven't seen my video from last year where we found the baby timber rattlesnakes also up in the trees, I recommend checking it out. I'll link it here. But this was one of my favorite encounters of last year, and to have a repeat of this year at a different timber rattlesnake gestation site was unreal. Along with 4 babies in the trees, we were able to find 4 babies on the ground scattered around the gestation site. Since the mother of these babies was substantially larger than the mother of 13 babies that were inside the log, we can only assume that there were many more babies and we caught them in the process of dispersing. And these 8 snakes were just the ones remaining and the ones we were able to spot. Some of them I estimate to have been more than 15 feet off the ground. They were so high in the trees that if I were to reach my hands above my head with my snake hook, I probably still would not have been able to get them down if that was something I wanted to do. At the entrance of the hole where we last saw mom were several of the sheds of the baby rattlesnakes. that were basking in the tree above my head. The moments captured on video here are the culmination of months of hard work and years of observation, learning as much as we can about these incredible snakes so that we can observe them in this incredibly unique setting. After spending a few minutes taking photos and video, we left these adorable baby rattlesnakes to dangle their tails from the trees. As we started back to the car, I noticed a large timber rattlesnake coiled only a few feet away from where we had been this whole time. Of course, I assumed this was Mom, but the snake just seemed too healthy for a timber rattlesnake that had just given birth. After comparing photos, I realized this was actually a new timber rattlesnake that I had never seen before, and a huge one at that. After a few quick photos, we parted way with the beast, content to have found 9 rattlesnakes that day. I still haven't had my perfect photo opportunity of baby timber rattlesnakes curled up in the sun with their mother, but these have got to be some of the most unique pictures I've had the pleasure of taking over my career as a photographer. I don't know how much of next year's timber rattlesnake birthing season I will spend in Georgia, so these might be the last photos of baby timber rattlesnakes we get for at least a year or so. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed keeping up with these little snakes over the last couple weeks as much as I have. And I also hope these photos shed some light on the peaceful nature of these really fascinating animals in the wild. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.